Hello, Nadine. Good morning.
Good morning. Really lovely to have you here and to connect with you this morning. I got this email from, because I'm an English National Opera Harvard artist. Mm-hmm. So sometimes when people are doing other work, they get in contact with us to let us know who's doing actual work, different types of work. Mm-hmm. And they sent us an email to say that you were doing breath work. And so I thought, I've always, as a singer, I've always wanted to work on my breath.
That's important.
Yeah, and so I just got in contact with you, and I've just been having a few sessions with you, and I have to say they have been inspirational.
Good.
And I feel like I found something in my whole way of being with my breath. Mm-hmm. Morning, Susan. Lovely to see you. But it is about taking that focus and that time to actually be with the breath, which you'll talk to us about today. And I really, really appreciate that. It's just so lovely to have you here.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I so appreciate it.
No, not at all. It's lovely.
There's so many other people's beautiful interviews with you, and I just hope I can offer something or other that might help somebody.
We all offer something. We all have something to say. We all have our own gifts, and they're all unique. It's why I've got so many different people on here, because it's just we've all got a message, you know.
And actually, this time is a wonderful time to try and share, isn't it? It's absolutely perfect timing.
Yeah, exactly. Morning, Tanya. So good morning, everybody. I am Nadine Benjamin. Oh my God, I've got a little frog in my throat there. The Intuitive Verdi Soprano. I am a certified NLP mind coach. I'm a certified high performance coach, and I'm also a healer, alongside being a professional opera singer. And I love celebrating, connecting, and really championing people. And this morning, I really just feel so elated to be breathing and in my breath, actually. So it gives me great pleasure to be here with Anne Coxhead. And Anne Coxhead treats singers, actors, musicians and dancers in Brighton and London using osteopathy, laryngeal manipulation, inspirational breathwork, and the Zena Romet, is it?
Zena floor bar.
Okay, Zena Romet floor bar. She is a registered BAPAM practitioner, member of the Osteopathic Performing Arts Association and the British Voice Association, and studied laryngeal manipulation with Jakob Lieberman, an internationally acclaimed expert in treating the voice. Being a former dancer, Anne is able to really connect with every artist that she works with. Thank you so much for being here. It's really, really lovely. Morning, Lena. Really lovely to have you here this morning. Morning, Marjorie. Morning, Nadine. It's wonderful that the word inspire means breath. Oh, yes, Marjorie. I love it. Martin Stells, good morning. So, as I say every morning, and, you know, I'm going to be really honest this morning. I'm always talking to everybody about reaching out to people, and because obviously Anne and I aren't medical doctors or psychiatrists or anything like that, you know, but this week for me was the week just gone was one of the most challenging weeks, I have to say, in my history. I've had to do a lot of reaching out, and a lot of people have done a lot of reaching out to me. So when I say this every morning, I'm not saying it just as a kind of passing message. I'm saying it because this week, that message that I've been saying every day, I listened to myself this week, and it has been my lifeline this week. So please, 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 if you need to reach out to someone, it doesn't matter if they're a medical practitioner or not, please pick up the phone. If you know someone that needs your support this week and you have the space in your heart to do it, please pick up the phone to them. It is a really challenging time for a lot of people, and a really inspirational time for a lot of people. But both those things means that everybody is in transition, which means that transition really does need to be supported. So if you can, please, please, please pick up the phone. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, everybody. Morning, Teresa. And to start us off, woo! Anne. So tell us, you always wanted wanted to be a ballerina, didn't you?
I did indeed, and I think my mum and dad took me to my first full-length ballet when I'm sure I was about 5, and it was in Brighton at the Pavilion, and or the Theatre Royal, sorry, and we saw Coppelia, which was a magical ballet to see for a little girl at age 5. And I remember literally sitting in the seat, and the music, the lights, the dancers, the clothes, everything, just my body just went out to the stage, and I kept literally standing up, and Mummy kept pulling me down, and I'd stand up again and pull me down. And that was my starting point. And then I was like, Mummy, I want to start to dance. I want to dance. And so that was the beginning of my my journey. And ironically, listen, everyone, November 19, we went to see Coppelia again in Lewis, and Marilena Nunes was dancing, who's just amazing. And I still could feel that in my body, this sort of wanting to draw forwards and stand up and be in it. So it hasn't gone away.
Oh, isn't it wonderful how the arts, as a child, that creativity, seeing that wonder on stage just really inspires us.
It does. It opens something up, doesn't it? Deep within you that just wants to find a way out.
Yes, absolutely.
And it keeps on. You keep on exploring until some way or another you can project that energy.
Yeah. Good morning, Anthea. Good morning, Sani. Greetings in Samara. Is it Talofa Laval? You must teach me how to do that one day, Sani. I'd love to know. And good morning, Anthea Parishchak. Oh, Anthea is saying, Anthea is one of my singing teachers, and she's also one of my healers. She says, that was my first ballet too.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Ballet, isn't it, for the first time?
I've never heard of it before. So you're teaching me something this morning, because I don't even know what it is. When I come off here, I'm going to go and have to research it.
Oh, the act is just wonderful when the doll comes alive. Absolutely fantastic.
Good morning, Gabrielle, and good morning, Annette. Annette is in Morecambe. So you're very near us, Annette, because I'm in Hove. So bless you. Well, it's good morning. Oh, and so is Gabby. Gabby's in Brighton as well. Lovely to see you all. So how did you? Sani said perfect pronunciation. Thank you, Sani. Woo! I love it when a crowd comes together. Morning, Leslie. So tell us, how did you then end up getting into being an osteopath? I mean, how did that come about?
Well, I had my long journey of dancing up until I was about 18, and I continued until I was 22. But obviously, at 18, you have to sort of start to make some big decisions in life. And my mother went to an osteopath at that point, which is quite rare, actually. Yeah. So I decided, as I wasn't going to make that pinnacle of my dream, that I would become an osteopath and treat dancers. So that was my sort of way out of still holding on emotionally to dancing in one way or another. I then got married, had 2 children, and that very much all went on the back burner.
And studying osteopathy, how was that for you? I mean, because obviously you've been an artist, and then you had to get your head down back to study. How was that? I mean, learning all the bones in the body and where everything is. What was that experience like?
Well, it was wonderful, because ironically, what you're really doing is learning the mechanics of the body that actually allows you to dance.
Yeah.
And what's so important about learning the mechanics and dance and singing, any art, is finding that alignment and understanding alignment. And alignment, center of gravity. I think we've mentioned resilience a lot on this program. You know, that's the core, isn't it? I mean, we can all sway.
Yeah.
Forward, backwards, up, down, inside out. But as long as we know how to get back to our center line.
Yeah.
And the mechanics of the body is vital. As soon as we lose that center line, then we develop aches and pains and develop these holding patterns.
I mean, you're very experienced now, but what was it like working on your first client? Can you remember?
Very, very scary.
I can imagine. What happened? Tell us about that.
Very, very scary. Well, to be honest with you, one of my first clients, I lived at Dean at that point, and my mum and dad allowed me to have one of their front rooms as my office. And I think probably, I mean, I cannot remember my first client, but ironically, probably about my 10th client was the then owner of Glindebourne.
Oh my gosh!
He in the terms then slipped a disc or had a herniated disc.
Yeah.
I remember him vividly walking up the driveway with a walking stick. I mean, he was acute. And of course I was, 22.
Oh, wow.
And, at that point, not that aware of Blindborn, really, I have to say.
Yeah.
And so that was an enormous challenge. I think I got him better. A long time ago now, so
no, I'm just asking these questions because there are going to be a lot of artists who are going to be transitioning into different things, or
yes.
This is a moment in history where some artists have wanted to do something different but haven't known how it would feel to move through that. So you sharing that is really important, because sometimes we do have to have the extra things that we do because we're good at more than one thing.
We're all multifaceted, aren't we? And I think it's very important that we have some kind of empathy with the clients that we're treating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their lifestyle.
Yeah,
what do they need out of their treatment to be able to gain that resilience to constantly perform day in, day out?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have some understanding of that.
Yeah.
The mechanics, you literally do have to look at that whole person. They're on stage as an emotional, physical human being, aren't they? Trying to constantly reach their potential. And so they need as much resilience and understanding of gaining a homeostatic base with their breath, with their mechanics, always knowing how to come back to that center line.
Yeah. So we're here to talk today, Anne, about getting to know the breath. You are an inspirational breath facilitator. So can you tell us, how did you get into that, where it started, why it started, and, maybe give us a couple of exercises to do or whatever, be really happy to, and, I'm going to just let you be. I mean, if I hear something, I'll chip in, but please talk and let us know.
Well, probably about 10 years ago, I went back to ballet, and the boys were at that sort of age where they didn't really need me that much. And that was when I decided that I really wanted to go back to treating performing artists in some shape or form and just go back to the stage. And I was stiff, I was achy. I carried all the tension and journey of my own emotional life in my body, and suddenly going back to ballet was a big ask. And so I realised that, that's when I discovered Dina Romat floor bar, because I needed to strengthen my external hip rotators, the appropriate muscles to use for dance. I then, the breath work really found me. And I discovered a trainer who was working with inspirational breath work, and I then became her guinea pig. And it completely released so many holding patterns, whether they be emotional or mechanical, from 35 years of work at that point. And I realized that this was a tool that could help artists deeply. Connecting with that breath. You're breathing, your whole body is moving. Breathing is movement. And it's incredibly important to be able to understand your breath of today. Not the breath you take to stage, that's about technique, but being able to recognize how our breath mirrors our neurological system, our respiratory system, our sympathetic and parasympathetic autonomic nervous system. We will be breathing almost what we're thinking. If we're tense, if we're anxious, if we're in fight and flight, we'll have short, shallow breath, right up in the rib cage. Nothing's happening down in the belly. And this will make an enormous difference to the mechanics and the alignment of the body. And also, if we're depressed, we'll be having rounded shoulders. We'll be having a very shallow, tight breath again. The diaphragm will be moving very much. And so I found that this was an enormous aid to releasing deeply held patterns of emotion, of trauma. When we're in trauma, we either have fight and flight and we try and run away when we've got racing breath and very short, shallow breath, or we freeze it and we literally stuff it all in our belly. And if we take that to the stage with us, we don't have a soft, supportive belly. That piston, that diaphragm cannot travel up and down very well because the hip flexors will be tight. They hold hands with the diaphragm. The diaphragm then splits into 3 layers of fascia that eventually wraps all its way around the larynx.
Wow. Okay.
Right the way up into the tongue and the jaw. And if these are being held from the base, being held right the way down the base, that piston can't move very well.
Yeah.
You haven't got that beautiful energy and belly fire of that supported breath that's going to fire up and literally flow over the vocal cord. So you gradually start to squeeze and you apply your technique, which will get you through, but eventually something's going to give way. And so if we can understand our breath of today, when we're normally walking around, and how it represents and plays in with our emotions, we become empowered. We can change how we breathe. We can use many different ways of breathing as our tools. So you gain a toolbox of how you can influence that mechanical body and your breath to create homeostasis, to create a lovely equal balance between sympathetics and the parasympathetics. I mean, we need both. We need to be able to run and...
When you say sympathetic and parasympathetic, you're talking about the nervous system.
The autonomic nervous system, yes. I mean, the breath is a way of hacking into it.
Because not everybody knows what the autonomic nervous system is and the para and the sympathetic. So, you know, I just want to like make sure that we are talking about different parts of the nervous system.
Different parts of the autonomic nervous system, yes. And the breath is a way of literally hacking into it, because it's something we do subconsciously. We breathe all day, all night, and we don't have to think about it. But we can consciously change how we breathe and therefore change our whole physiology.
So, sorry, I know you're in the middle, but what I heard was something that I you know, when we first had a conversation, is something that I hadn't heard before, because I hadn't done that until I'd started working with you. That recognizing that we have a breath for the stage and then a breath for everyday life. Could you talk a little bit more, a bit more about that? Because that's not something. And if anybody's got any questions around this, please put them in the box, and if Anne can answer them, she will. Yeah, I just found that really interesting. Can you explain a bit more about that?
I think I wouldn't dream of trying to advise you to take a breath to the stage, because I think that's probably too late. You've got all your performance skills, you've got all your technique, and you step on stage and that's it. But I think what's important is that relative to the amount of time you spend in your normal life, your breath actually is in your normal life. And you can explore that and be aware of where is your breath. You know, really we need a conscious, connected breath in the belly. They are the correct muscles to be using for breathing. But most of the time we are actually using our upper chest, our neck muscles, almost as though we're asthmatic. So the learning curve is to learn how to breathe in your normal life and to realize what is disturbing it. The more you become empowered off of stage, the more you will take a normal breath to the stage that isn't cluttered with your history. If you've got a performance in the evening and you've lost your car keys, the car won't work, and your daughter's ill and can't go to school, then your breath pattern is going to be very disturbed by that. And you're going to take a lot of that to the stage. You'll be able to manage it because of your technique. But much earlier in the day, you were able to take control of that, be empowered, recognize that day is not going to augur very well for this evening. Then you can change that. You can consciously recognize, I have a shallow breath. I need to take that breath down to my belly. I need to make sure that I am actually breathing in. And I am actually breathing out, because a lot of the time we'll catch ourselves and find actually for a while we haven't even breathed.
Yeah, so this is a really good question. So, you know, I'm glad that you've just said that, because Marjorie has just asked this question. She said, what about habitually holding one's breath?
Holding your breath means you cannot let go of something. You're gripping on to the story still. You're still in the story of the keys, the broken down car. So once we realize that we've got to breathe in to breathe out, then we start to be empowered again by the breath. We need to be constantly receiving energy and letting go. You can also look at it in a very, very beautiful way that, you know, every in-breath is an amazing opportunity to receive oxygen, nourishment to every cell in the body. And we mustn't starve our body of that. It needs it, and our brain needs it. And every out-breath is an opportunity to let go of what you've been holding on to in that last moment. Why the balance is very, very important is because the in-breath is related to the sympathetics. It's related to fight and flight. And out-breath is related to parasympathetics. So every cycle of our breath, we actually have an opportunity to let go of something that we're holding inside, that is restricting our breath, that is holding our shoulders tight. We have an opportunity to say, and that's why the body intermittently, we do sigh. Yawning and sighing are very, very clever ways of intercepting, of getting more oxygen in on the in-breath and letting go of the carbon dioxide and the toxins and releasing the body on the out-breath.
Can you give us a little exercise just to kind of, to do with us maybe?
Yeah, so I think everybody's going to be sitting, I think. So let's just make sure that we're sitting comfortably. Our feet are nicely grounded on the floor. And just gently close your eyes and just take yourself gently into your body. Just go into what we call your felt sense. Just be aware of yourself breathing, your air breathing in through your nose. And now let's just gently open your mouth. We're going to breathe through your mouth, in and out. So gently lower that jaw and just start to breathe in for 2 and out for 1. Now, it's very important that on the out breath, you just let go, because the diaphragm needs on the out breath just to let go. So we're breathing in. One continuous connected cycle. Now make sure that that breath is going down to the belly. Soften the belly so you know the belly is expanding and opening on the in-breath and letting go on the out-breath.
And now just before we do that as well, if you do have any trouble with breathing or anything and you feel that, you know, this isn't for you, please don't try it.
You can always breathe through your nose. It's just the same, just breathe through your nose. So continuously just relaxing the out-breath, letting go of the out-breath, and expanding and softening the belly on the in-breath. And just for a while, let's just take our hands and we're just going to tap around our face and our head and the jaw and the chest. And now just make a gentle fist and just release the jaw with a bit of sound. A little bit of a tap. And put your hands in your lap and go back to that belly breath. And just feel how that's changed it already. The belly's softer, it's expanding more. And just letting go on that out breath, just letting go, softening the out breath. Receiving on the in breath and letting go. Receiving, letting go. And now let's just conjure up something on that in breath. Let's conjure up the feeling of confidence. What would it feel like to feel confident, safe, with unconditional love for yourself? What would that feel like? Breathe it in. And then just bathe in those feelings on the out breath. sinking, melting into that out breath. Really melting, letting go. And now just transitioning that breath to breathing through your nose and out of your mouth. Just slowly bringing yourself back. You might even feel as though you have slight pins and needles or a fizziness, and that's just your body adapting to receiving more oxygen. And we breathe through the mouth and in and out through the mouth of this exercise, because when you think about it, any emotion, whether it's laughing, crying, screaming, singing, is through the mouth. That's our expression and our way into our sympathetics. Nasal breathing is just for warming the air, for filtering the air that we're breathing. Any emotion is through the mouth.
It's really interesting. Annette Smith is just asking, asthmatic. She's an asthmatic. I am as well, Annette. So she's saying, I'm an asthmatic. I panic when I try and change my breathing. Can you talk about that?
That is because of all the memories that you've buried relative to your breath, and all the panic, possibly even parents saying, well, don't panic. And what we need to do is to very gently and very slowly introduce a belly breath, so that you rewire your body and understand which muscles to try and introduce into movement, because you've just become used to using your auxiliary muscles, and they will encourage a panic attack. If we can reshape your breath, even start off with just breathing through your nose and closing your mouth, but making sure we're using the correct muscles of inspiration, you'll be able to change the neurological pattern of your breath, and you'll be able to gain confidence in it slowly. The more we get the diaphragm to move up and down, the greater capacity you will gradually develop within your respiratory system, because what's happening is the ribs and the intercostal muscles, all the muscles that you should be using for breath, are very tight and very closed down, and they won't be allowing your rib cage or your diaphragm to move very far. And that can be worked on, and actually can be, you can have magical changes actually very, very quickly once you have the correct muscles.
Yes, and I want to really identify with that. When I first started working with Anne, I did exactly that, didn't I, Anne? I was always in complete panic. I was like, ah! But then Anne was very good at showing me ways, like what we were doing here, just to kind of calm the system down and to get me back into my body again. And then we would go at it again. And I had to start breathing in through my nose and out through my nose for me to start off. And that was my way. And so eventually I've been able to do it through my nose and then out through my mouth, So, and it's just, and what I realized through doing the work with Anne is that I've always been somebody who's about, we've got to love ourselves, and, really, it's really leaning into love, and what that looks like. And I'm always very good at giving unconditional love to everybody else. But then when I started work with Anne, and I realized that, oh my gosh, the unconditional love has got to come to me too. I didn't realize.
We have to feel safe in our own body.
Yeah, it was so enlightening, Anne. I had never had that moment, and it really, really changed the way I had the relationship with my breath and my body.
And I think, especially for singers, if they can try and have a different relationship with their breath from their belly and change the focus from the larynx. I have so many singers who come in and they are literally a walking larynx. Micro bit of their body that is totally responsible for lack of stamina, this, that, and it's the left larynx, muscle of the thyrocricoid. And it's like, okay, wait a minute, let's just sit down, let's take the pressure away from the micro. Let's look at the piston, let's get it firing properly, let's give it support and use the correct muscles to allow it to relax.
Yeah. Thank you. Annette's just saying, thank you, hit the nail on the head, narcissistic mum. And she's also saying, inciting panic now habit, being told I would be ill if. So, yeah. Thank you, and thank you, Annette, for really sharing that with us here all this morning, because that sparked a really good conversation. Now we're running out of time as usual. It's always the thing when you start getting into these conversations, but there's not that much time left. But have you got 3 tips about how we can all come into connection with our breath on a day-to-day basis, or any other tips that you might have?
Yes, I think definitely number 1, the first step is just become aware of your breath. Just become aware. Just during the day, just constantly think, that's interesting. Where am I breathing? Where is my breath? Am I breathing? And secondly, just play around with just trying to get your breath just a little bit further down into that belly. Releasing and softening the belly. And realizing that every out breath is an opportunity to let go of tension and stress. Yeah? Tension and stress we can let go of it every second. We've got this wonderful opportunity and we just don't really quite realize it. And it's just right under our nose. And to realize that we can muster up anything we need and breathe it in.
Yes.
Into every cell. We can change the way we feel very, very quickly. We just need the tools.
Yeah.
And to understand it. So the fourth thing is become aware. Become aware of your breath. It's vital.
Yeah. I love that. What I also thought of after we've had our sessions, Anne, is actually I can make the breath welcome.
Yes.
It's really interesting that we can take for granted that we've got breath, but we can actually make the breath welcome into our bodies, and and then be really happy to release what we need.
Yes. We are in the driving seat.
Yeah, exactly.
We can completely empower ourselves.
Yeah.
Our feelings, using our breath. We just need to become aware, and a whole new world will open up for you. So when there's a piece of panic today, just watch what happens to your breath and make sure you breathe in and you breathe out and it's down into your belly, and you'll have a much better day.
Sani is just saying, releasing breath, life changing, confronting, necessary. Absolutely, Sani. And actually, when I've done work with Anne, there have been points where I have had to confront some things within that space, and actually Anne has been, and I think I need to say this, Anne, you've been wonderful, because I've been somebody that has had CPTSD, so complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and and for me, like learning how to rebreathe again has been instrumental to my life. I've done all the therapy work, I've done all the kind of body work. Now I'm into the stage of breath work, so it's been really vital for my quality of life to start. And what I've loved is that you've been able to hold me in all that, and it's very important to have a practitioner. I mean, I think we've got Anthea Parashchak on here, and she's a coder, so she's about releasing any negative energies that are in our body, and she's also great at holding
that space.
Release
when we feel safe.
Exactly. And I think that's really, really, really important. Gabby saying, learning to breathe before you know you should in a panic is not easy. So no, it isn't, Gabby, and that's why we have to do a daily practice, and it seems like common sense to breathe because it's like in and out, but common sense is not always common practice, so it's that thing of just taking that time. And we will have Anne's details, so if you want to get in contact with Anne, she'll be very happy to hear from you and to let you know what she can offer you in this regard. So if this is something that you would like to start working on with her, please.
And I'm very happy to still support people through the whole of June. Any others who would like to investigate this kind of work, they feel free to contact me, and I will be very happy to support.
Thank you so much. You've been a lifeline, so thank you so much. And tomorrow we are going to have the singer Jack Holton coming on with us to discuss dyspraxia. We hear a lot about dyslexia, but we are going to talk about dyspraxia. So I really look forward to having that discussion with him tomorrow. And before we leave, Anne, joyous Anne, wonderful Anne, thank you for such a great session. Something that's not really talked about as much is our day-to-day breath. It's wonderful to hear you talk about that. Have you got any final thoughts for us before you leave?
Just breathe and stay aware.
Okay, thank you.
And unconditionally love yourself.
Yeah.
All of you.
Oh.
Bring all your pieces in, love them all, breathe into them. Don't separate them, because that's where our holding patterns are. It's in our story.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Teresa, thank you. Lena, and Lena is saying, bless you, Anne. And so thank you, everybody, for being here this morning.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me.
Not at all. I look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.